Good afternoon, Mrs. Mabogunje.
Let me unmute myself. Hi, Nike.
How are you?
How are you?
I'm very well, thank you. We're
So
on live.
just what in your life?
We're live on YouTube now, so I'll turn off.
Okay.
I just wanted to test that everything is okay. I will start in exactly 4 minutes, but I'm really excited, and I hope everyone else too is. I'm sure everyone else too is, by the way. So thank you very much. So at
Okay.
exactly 4, we'll start back. Thank you.
Okay.
Fantastic.
I'm stressed. Oh God, have mercy. Hmm? Hmm.
Okay, good afternoon, everyone. I'm just trying to start my video now. Okay, good afternoon, everyone. I'm just trying to start my video now. Please hold on while we sort out this technical hitch. Hello, good afternoon, everyone. I'm sure you can all hear me. We're just trying to get the video working. For some reason, there's a technical glitch. We're currently on Zoom, live streaming on YouTube. You're welcome once again to our MSME Hub live stream. We're trying to get the video working as soon as possible. Please give us a few seconds. We apologize. Okay, good afternoon. Can everyone hear me? Are we back now?
I think we are.
Fantastic.
I can hear you.
Hamed, Amaka, can you confirm we're live streaming on YouTube now?
So I'm just going to quickly refresh my YouTube page. Okay.
So we're all good to go ahead?
Yes, we are good to go. We're live.
Great, fantastic. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm so delighted to welcome all of us to this live streaming conversation hosted by MSME Hub team of Faith Foundation. I have to apologize for the delay in starting the conversations, but we definitely will ensure that the next 50 minutes are very much worth your while. And they're worth your while because we have a special guest who is going to be leading us in this conversation and who we're very privileged and very honored to have. So once again, welcome to today's live streaming conversations that we'll be having on the MSME Hub with the focus on strategies for business growth during and post-COVID-19. So good afternoon, everyone. So I'll go straight into introducing our special guest today, and I'm really smiling because she's someone that I'm privileged to call my friend, my buddy, my big egbon, and then we discovered recently that we may even be related. So we have so many touch points. Our special guest today is Mrs. Toki Mabogunje. She is the principal partner of Toki Mabogunje & Co. And she's also the president of the Lagos Chamber of Commerce and Industries. She's somebody who is a lawyer by training, but she's also had over 30 years of experience with supporting SMEs, not just in Nigeria, but across the continent. And by support from program design, from policy, from advocacy, from an advisory perspective. And she has so many baby businesses that have grown to become conglomerates within and outside of Nigeria. So when you're talking about somebody who understands the micro, medium, and small enterprise space, business growth, business strategies in good times, in crisis times, somebody who is also an entrepreneur herself. So she talks from a knowledge of building and running a business herself, and also advising businesses across different spectrums and industry. We really cannot get it better than that. I have to say that she's one of the founding friends of Faith Foundation from inception, and we're 20 years to this year. So you can imagine that she's worked with Faith Foundation from the very beginning. She's one of our star mentors. She's our mentor of mentors. She's one of our star volunteers in so many ways. And I know when I posted the flyer for this session, everybody was just like, Mommy Toki, my mentor, I have to make this session. I got like 5 messages on that. So Ms. Mabogunje is very well loved, very, very well respected. And at a time like this, for us, it was important to start this live stream conversations on YouTube with having somebody who really understands the conversations that we really need to have. So she will be speaking from her heart as an entrepreneur herself, like I said, but also in the role that she plays, because she wears different hats. And one of them is, the president of the Lagos Chamber is just one of the many hats that she wears, and she'll be bringing different perspectives into this conversation. So I'm really honored to have you, ma'am, and you're welcome to this conversation.
Thank you so much, Nikia. Thank you for that wonderful introduction. Thanks so much.
Thank you very much. Thank you. So we're going to have a very interactive conversation. We had some questions that were already sent ahead, and I'll be asking you the questions as they flow. For all of those who are watching us on YouTube, please send your questions on the comments page, and the team will ensure that I get and I see them, and we also answer them appropriately. We tend for this to be a very engaging conversation, a very insightful and very, very practical conversation, and we're really looking forward to that. And so my first question is this, because I'm even starting with the theme. You know, it says strategies for business growth during and post COVID-19. This is a very simple question. Are we going to get to a post COVID-19 situation? because I was talking to my boss the other day and he said, we're still in pre-COVID-19. He doesn't understand why people are saying post-COVID-19. We're still in this situation. So what does this situation mean for us as individuals, for us as entrepreneurs? And in terms of looking at the timeline aspect for it, is there an end? And when there is that end, what will that start to look like?
Okay, so Nika, thanks again. Thank you for inviting me. And you know what I'm like. I love talking to people and addressing people around business development and the business environment. But I'm going to take 5 minutes of your time to just say a little bit about this topic. When you gave me this topic, strategies for business growth and during and post COVID-19, I renamed it. I called it a case for business resilience. What we're talking about here is business resilience. It actually bothers me that people are thinking COVID-19. How do I survive COVID-19? What we should be thinking is, how do I survive disasters? This is not going to be the only one. There are others come, and this is not a doomsday saying. There'll be others. And this part of the world, we have been so blessed that we hardly face disasters. So you have other parts of the world where various kinds of disasters come their way, especially environmental. So what happens with a business when it's faced with either an environmental disaster or a man-made disaster? And an epidemic like the pandemic we have now is classified a man-made disaster. Yes. To answer your question, well, what would be post-COVID? Well, will we get to that place? Yes, we get to that place when we start to have vaccines that start to protect people against contacting the disease. Right? And which is why we have the entire world searching desperately. Vaccine, you can begin to determine that certain percentages of your population will be protected against this. What will a post-COVID world look like? Your guess is as good as mine, but we're beginning to see signs of what it could look like, positive and negative. Already we're seeing that our basic nature of humans, when we're faced with fear, when we're faced with disaster, we hug ourselves, we turn inwards. We hug everything to ourselves. So in doing that, if you look at the global village, a lot of countries are turning inwards. They're not sharing as much as they should. Supply chains are disrupted. So when we look at our businesses here that are so dependent on supply chains that are global, just how much can they continue to rely on these supply chains? So there's going to be a lot of turning inwards and trying to recover first internally before you begin to focus outwardly. Something else are the good things that are happening. So I like to look at the good side of things. The amazing way in which our huge informal sector has adopted technology is something that I didn't think was going to happen for another 10 to 15 years. I say to people that when K2 Market developed Legs, I was astounded. They actually moved around. Yes. They have a website. They have WhatsApp numbers that you can
virtually, yes.
Yes, so there's been fast adoption of technology by the same SMEs that barely 2 years ago, you and I were saying these SMEs. Yeah.
Are they even SMEs? Then
that's another thing.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. And I liked your reframing of the conversation, a case for resilience. And you made a very good point around vaccines, for me also, and I think everything is pointing to that. And I was listening to a news report this morning that everyone is predicting that COVID might be with us like measles and a lot of all the other diseases. And we would have to learn to live with it and have preventive measures or cure measures with vaccines in the place. And so I want to drill down on the topic, on the word resilience. Who is a resilient entrepreneur? What is a resilient business or resilient SME, in your own words?
Okay, I was distracted for 2 seconds.
Okay, sorry. It's okay. We're working from home.
We're working from home.
I had to shut my door and warn my 2 children not to open the door in 1 hour. So yes. So I said that I really loved how you reframed the conversation to a case for business resilience. So drilling down on the word resilience, who is a resilient entrepreneur and what is a resilient business?
A resilience business, frankly speaking, is one that has a disaster recovery plan, one that has a business resilience plan. That's what it's called. And so in speaking to our wonderful entrepreneurs out there who are listening and watching us, well, I say to them that you need to have a plan for how you recover from disasters and epidemics like this. And first and foremost, it starts with having a team. Some of us are one-man shows. That's okay. That's okay. You do have people who provide you service. They can become a part of that team. The person you outsource your accounting to, the person you outsource your IT services to. These people can be incorporated into your resilience team. But you need to have this team of 2 or more who totally understand what your operations are all about, so that you can create brainstorming around how do we survive this sort of situation and what kind of strategies for survival can we come up with.
Okay. Thank you very much for that. So have a team. Somebody described it as a war room, the people that you can bring together and engage with. And I like what you've also said, because usually it's a few people have always said, okay, well, I'm just my business. But I've actually never thought about it like that, that there are people that are also integral to your value chain, so to speak, and they understand your business, and then you can engage them. What about the entrepreneur who at this time is saying, I don't have any business for the last 2 months when the lockdowns, in fact, before the lockdown started, I have not been able to get any customers. I have not been able to get any sales. I really don't know how it is, and I've not been able to generate any revenue. I know this is a very broad question I'm asking, but what advice would you give that type of person, for instance?
You know, it starts first with truly understanding the business you're in. I do find that there are quite a lot of people who don't understand their business enough, and certainly have not put enough of an effort into understanding the market that they serve. You know, sometimes I will talk to a class and I'm saying to them, who's your customer? And the answer is always everybody. Everybody cannot be a customer. Because if you say everybody's your customer, how are you going to market this product or service? You know, so it's truly sitting down to understand your operations and understand your market. In terms of understanding your operations, at this point in time, we're talking about this specific person whose picture you've painted, right? He or she needs to sit and say, okay, what is my operation all about? What is the most critical part of my operation? Can I operate remotely? Or what parts of my business can be operated remotely? Who is my market? Who's in my market? Who are my customers? Can I reach them? How can I reach them? One thing COVID has made very clear to all of us around the world is that we really have to become technology-enabled businesses.
Yeah.
To get on, to grow during COVID-19, post-COVID-19, you have to be technology enabled. You must be enabling aspects of your business with technology. So whether it's the marketing side or the operational side, you need to be thinking this way. So this person needs to think really deeply about this. And one thing that entrepreneurs have difficulty with is in listing weaknesses. Sometimes I do SWOTs with entrepreneurs. Tell me your strengths. It's a very long list of strengths. Tell me your weaknesses. They can't find.
No, it's not. Nothing is, you know, there's also a spiritual angle.
And maybe it's hard enough. 1 or 2 or 3 years. You know, it might lead you to the answers to your question, why don't I have business now? Why didn't I have business before COVID-19?
Is it a good, so one of the, to follow on that question, one of the questions some entrepreneurs have asked is that should they just, given their business or the way their business operates. So one of the questions we had was a person that dealt in luxury goods. So luxury bags, clothes, people are not even buying clothes at the moment except masks or something. Is it a good idea to go and delve into something else that you're originally not doing at this time?
That question is always difficult for me to answer from an advisory role. Because as an advisor, the first thing I want to determine is what made you begin to sell luxury goods in the first place? Do you have a strong interest in this? Do you have a passion for it? What was the reason? What was your objective? Does the way you're selling the luxury goods now meet your original objective? Right? I need to get some insight into what drove this person into business. Because, you know, luxury goods is a very, very broad classification. Yeah. So maybe you were doing cars and maybe you would do better in clothing. You know, you need to think about why. And if you were trying to add value in certain ways to a certain class of the population, then if you understand your customer, that specific man or woman, what is their interest now that we have COVID-19? And how do I meet that specific need?
Okay, so that goes into my next question. What are the practical ways an entrepreneur can go into now asking those questions? So you're asking us to say, okay, go back again and start to revalidate some of the assumptions around your business model. Why did I go into selling this product or delivering this service? Are my customer needs changing and all of that? How would you advise an entrepreneur to start doing that? I don't know if it's market research, market survey, because sometimes it may not even be a luxury good. It may just be that you may even be selling a food product that may not be an essential product. It's not gari, rice, beans, tomato. Yes. So how do I get the information that allows me to validate whether I should continue on this path in this time anyway, or to start to evolve to another way? Because I find that sometimes the challenge is even in the questions we ask to reach the assumptions, which was the perfect example you used around the SWOT. How do I even approach that?
Well, you know, it's interesting, Ike, because I did develop a set of questions I wanted to share with the audience.
Okay, fantastic.
Because it all still has to do with resilience. So part of this questioning is a questioning of your operations. So you ask yourself the first question, what is my main product or service? Then you go on to look at how you produce this product or how you produce this service. Then how has this pandemic affected that product or service? Can you function remotely? What equipment do you need to do this, right? And then can your business survive without certain functions that exist within the operations right now? And then also which functions are critical to the business. So I know I was talking to someone, let's take an example of a non quote unquote essential service. And that's in training, because when you have a pandemic or a disaster, honestly, the last thing businesses are thinking about is training, frankly.
Yes.
It's one of the first things that goes out the door. So if you're a provider of training services, you know, you start to think about, okay, who were the kind of people I was training? What was I training them about? What's their current concern? So if I use my firm as an example, right? We run consultancy services around business development issues. But the truth of the matter is that all businesses are hit, no matter how big or small they are. Everybody's hit, but some have less resources than others. And because our firm is totally focused on SMEs, right? We're focused on a population of entrepreneurs of their food chain, right? And so already selling of intangibles is already a difficult sell, So how do you now appeal to this particular group? This group need help even more now than they ever did before.
Yes.
So you need to begin to think about, how do I design the service to suit their ability to pay, and what are they willing to pay for, right? So for example, I would give an example. So now we have a new business clinic service, 30 minutes on Zoom. You have a consultant you can speak with and they give you advice. So you need to look at what you're doing and see how you can begin to provide this remotely. I get paid for the work that you're doing.
Yes, generate some form of revenue. Fantastic. Yes. Thank you so much. So key questions to ask. What is my main product? I'm typing. As you know, this is also
okay.
I'm wearing a business hat too.
Yeah.
So this is like my own personal mentoring session. What is my main product or service? How do I produce this product or service? How has this pandemic affected that product or service? Can I function remotely? And then how can my business survive without certain functions? And which functions are critical to the business survival? And once you've been able to do that, and again, what you're saying is don't assume. You really need to drill down and get as much facts to support all the responses to this. And then you're now looking to say, how do I redesign the business around the customer's ability to pay?
You hit the nail on the head. You did.
What I also think is that, honestly, because this for me has really been a very good learning experience, I think that for the first time, everything we even teach entrepreneurs, this is like the reality. When we always say cash is king, cash is king, this is the time that you really fully appreciate it. And this is the time where you can't make emotional decisions. This is the time where you're watching every kobo that comes in or can come in, and you're trying to hold that aggressively with that. So, and at the end of the day, because this is a time when the target audience is also watching every dollar or every kobo that they spend, you also have to ensure that what do I get, what do I need to do to attract 1 naira and to keep attracting it from that same person. And so my next question is around cash flow. I mean, the typical, everybody has talked about assess your liquidity, don't spend on non-essential services and all of that. What are the critical cash flow management strategies? Because everything you've also talked about is around cash flow management. So it all links together. But is there something that you feel, based on your experience and knowledge, that people need to even be more aware regarding money and financing and all of that? So that's, I'm going to ask 2 questions in one. That's number 1. Number 2, the government has also come with well, there's a palliative, a CBN program that is in place, and quite a lot of entrepreneurs have applied for them. What do you think about applying for these loans, particularly for people who are not even sure that they'll be able to generate revenue to be able to pay that back with that? So I know they're sort of 2 separate questions, but I'm hoping you would address that.
Okay, so what to do around finance and cash? I think the first thing we need to do as SMEs is stop thinking of cash as paper money. We need to stop. We're still thinking about cash as about handling paper, and begin to think of cash as digital. And if we start to think about cash as digital, we start to understand that we need to digitize our financial systems, our accounting systems, our relationship with our banks, our relationship with our customers. I know that when the pandemic started, I had a few naira in my bag, which I still have not spent till today because nobody is taking cash. First of all, because COVID is living in cash. Yeah, exactly. But secondly, because, everyone, so for the business to be safe, you've got to be transacting electronically. It is not safe to put cash in the hands of employees or third parties who are acting on your behalf. So the more digital you are, the better. And honestly, post-COVID, I honestly see us going into a digital finance era where things like the use of blockchains around documentation and transactions and so on, Bitcoins, it may not be called Bitcoin at the end of the day, but there's going to be some kind of digital currency that you're going to be using, and that we need to begin to think that way. I know a lot of small businesses I've spoken to over the last, 6 to 7 weeks, especially with the lockdown, have been so glad, those that had done it, that they had gone digital with their financial systems and their relationships with their banks and so on. They are smiling to the bank, while some other people are saying, there's no way for me to get paid. Yes. So in terms of finance, please, the biggest problem that the banks and all other institutions have with us, whether they're financial institutions that give us technical advice or technical capacities, is that record keeping is a problem with us. Understanding that our business finance is different from our personal finance is another problem that we have. We've got to separate our personal financial incomes from the income, the revenues of the business. That's what we need to be doing around cash flow and finance. And also, when you begin to do that, you find it easier to be able to estimate cost as against revenue to quickly determine exactly what your profits are likely to be. So you move away from that situation where it's only after you've done the business that you realize that I think I lost money here. You know? Your second question was, sorry.
Around financing, so exploring financing opportunities that are
about the funds that are available. The first thing I would say to anybody is do not borrow any money unless you're sure you need it. So the first thing is to actually have a thorough think through about what you're about to do and ensure that whatever you are infusing into the business is going to result in income streams at the end of the day.
Thank you.
Secondly, if you need to borrow money, take development finance. So the intervention funds by the central bank, the ones by the Bank of Industry, those ones come with the lowest interest rates. And they are very developmental in their mindsets. So even when you're having problems in your operations down the line, they tend to step up and help you with those business issues that you may be grappling with at that point in time. So first call developmental finance before you even begin to look for commercial loans.
Great. So think of money not just as cash, not just as naira, kobo, notes as that paper. We take. Think of, not just as paper. Think of it from a digital currency. And one of the things I even like to say, for example, is that if you think of a lot of the tech platforms, a number of them have started to offer free advertising credits and all of that. Those are things that you will pay for and everything. So rethink your thinking around money. Again, back to bookkeeping. And technology has also made life easier. I'm actually seeing quite a lot of products and platforms that is making it easy to record. So for instance, one of our partners, YBI, was one of our partner member countries. They're doing a system where through a USSD form, SMEs can keep their books of records, and we're actually exploring that, and we're looking at that. So in that way, you can just record your inflow and your outflow, and it generates your account, and you can eventually integrate it with other payments and other apps. The other thing you talked about was if you've not done it before now, you need to digitize your payment channels. How do you receive money? And it's very easy. So either you have a banking app that does that, or you use any of the free platforms that are available. We're seeing a lot of things around mobile money that is also happening now. So you can't even just say it's only one segment of the society that can pay you. It's making that cashless economy is easy. We see also that there are a lot of regulatory changes that are allowing us to do things digitally and approve it. AGMs are happening virtually, and things that we never thought we wouldn't have to do in paper and everything. And then you said, do not get money. You do not borrow money if you know you can't guarantee the revenue to be able to repay it back when you eventually need to do that. And if it doesn't, if it's not even help you to sustain and to grow your business. And if you do, explore development finance money. I want to ask, my next question will be around the Lagos Chamber. So one of the things for me that I've always found very fascinating is the role of association, trades, organizations and industry groups in helping to act as a voice, information platform, advocacy groups, and also even like a test port, so to speak, particularly from specialized groups, so whether from industry groups, subsector groups, and all of that. Please, can you, and I know that there are a few LCCI members also on this conversation, but I'm speaking more towards the non-LCCI members. Why are trade groups, and I'm saying trade groups and associations broadly, why are they important? Why are they important at this time more particularly? And how and should entrepreneurs take advantage of them?
Okay, so basically a business member association or organization like the Lagos Chamber, like MAN, like there are quite a number, like NASME, NASI, there are quite a few. There are voluntary groups of that. They have a conducive business environment in which to operate. So essentially what these associations do is they try to ensure that the business environment in which the members are operating enables those businesses to operate successfully and profitably. And what does this mean? It means, one, that they have a strong advocacy responsibility. So if government or local government or state government makes policies in a way that limits growth or is likely to increase challenges for the business person, they will advocate against it. Two, what I say to entrepreneurs is that as much as we are competitors to others in our sector, we also need to band together to share experiences and also to work together to have a greater voice to advocate for what we believe in and what we require to thrive and survive. So as an entrepreneur working on your own in your little business, you're grappling with challenges that someone else might already have spun that wheel and overcome that challenge. If you're in an association, you get the benefit of relating with these people. In a chamber of commerce that's not sector specific, so Lagos Chamber of Commerce has about 26 sectoral groups. And it's everything from oil and gas to SMEs and agriculture and all of that. It's a very long list. When you're in a big bowl like that with different kinds, species of fish, if I call it that, you start to see how you all interrelate with one another. So you're an entrepreneur and you are probably in industry. You manufacture, for example. You know, there's the freight forwarders group that deals with logistics and distribution. There's the financial services group that has the banks where you want to get your financial support. There's the insurance group where you want to secure your assets. So, you know, you're able to benefit from this pool of such diverse expertise that exists within the association. So I say to businessmen and women that you get a lot of support from these associations, from the Chamber of Commerce. And the Chamber of Commerce, because it deals also on the macro level, they have conversations with the governor of the state or the president of the country. They are looking ahead to those things that they know need to be put in place before maybe even you begin to think about those things. And that's because they have a much broader view of the economy. So central bank takes a decision at this end of the spectrum, but the chamber can already see what it's going to end up in at the other end of the spectrum. And they need to try and make sure that they keep government focused on maintaining a balance and being inclusive in a lot of what they do, particularly with their policy making.
Thank you very much. Are there specific policies and programs that because you stand as a middleman, middle person between the government and SMEs? Are there certain policies that you're pushing for particularly at this crisis time that I'm sure not even are there? What are the critical ones you're pushing for? I'm sure there are quite a number.
There are quite a number.
Yes.
There are quite a number.
is there any particular one you want to talk about, or?
Yes, I would like to mention some. So for example, before we go to the specifics, there's also the overarching view. So what has happened is that our governor in Lagos State is already thinking post COVID-19. So he's set up a committee already around implementation of initiatives and policy incentives post COVID-19. And we're a part of that committee. So we tend to want to stay engaged and in the face of government. So that gives us an ear to the ground, that gives us a voice in the room, that gives us a place at the table so that we can speak on behalf of our audience out there. With specifics, I gave a press conference last week, and some of the things we spoke about were moratoriums on loans. So people who've taken loans already, and honestly, in this situation, who's able to pay back a loan. So we've talked about the commercial banks following the lead of the Central Bank of Nigeria and giving 1-year moratoriums on loans already taken. We've spoken about, the 2.5 additional points they added to VAT late last year. We're asking that they postpone that maybe to the end of the year, and not insist on the 7.5 to give leeway. We're also asking for that, well, they started doing some, like, whatever we're owing in backlog will be waived. We're looking for tax incentives. We're looking for easier access, particularly for SMEs. When we look at what's been done so far, government has done a lot. So we're not beating that down. Government has done a lot. But when you look at all of the effort that's been made, the MS in the MSME are still, they're still not a big part of what is happening. So there's a big concern that the Chamber of Commerce has, as well as some other associations, that we're still sort of missing out on assisting the S's and the micros, who also need a great deal of help. We've talked about certain industries and government stepping in with palliatives to help them. So there's the aviation industry, that's obvious. There's tourism and hospitality, that's another obvious thing. We've commended the government on what was done in terms of the pharmaceutical companies and healthcare, but we're saying it's not enough. Even more needs to be done, because right now, because of the pressure from the pandemic, a lot is being spent on temporary structures. These need to move into the permanent structures. How about taking some of that money and really making Louth a center of excellence, really making Lasouth a center of excellence, adding on another center of excellence, that sort of thing, so that we know that these things will survive into the future. Isolation centers are going to be pulled down at the end of the day, so advice like that.
Thank you. I liked your emphasis around the need for collaboration, the need for, I know some people call it co-opetition, working with people within your space, even we within the ecosystem, that importance of working together, because you have the same needs. And sometimes when you have the voice of one than the voice, a fragmented voice, your voice is louder, it's shared, there's shared learning, there's shared working together. I know, for instance, 2 of our businesses that are partnering together at this time because they don't have full capacity individually, but working together, they can produce and then supply a larger person. I have another question, which is really around the case for still being a formal business. What do I mean by that? A lot of businesses or entrepreneurs are asking, I don't have revenue. Should I be paying tax? Like, there are taxes that I'm still required to pay and eligible to pay and all of that. Should I be paying, even if when I'm struggling to pay my employees, whatever I can pay in salary, should I be paying payee and the thing? Or should I just even leave this business and just be operating undercover? What is the advice for entrepreneurs who are thinking that way now, that operating under the radar maybe in their mind may be much more cost efficient for them? We talk a lot around integrity and needing to do the right things in the way it is. But I think that also from a practical point, if you can provide some advice on that.
Well, I say to entrepreneurs who tell me these things in the course of my consulting business that, paying your tax is not about how much profit you're making.
Mhm,
Paying your tax is about being a good corporate citizen.
mhm,
It speaks to your integrity. It speaks to the integrity of your business. And what's interesting is that when you're small and unknown, you think it doesn't matter. When you begin to grow, it comes and bites you in the butt because those records are there. The reputation you've grown over time is there. So you've started a business, you're running the business, you're making money. As government will not take tax from you when you're not making money. That's the law. If you're not making money, you don't pay tax. Nobody will ask you for tax. But if you're making money, do pay your taxes. Step up. Because if you have a long term view of your business, which is one, my business will be successful.
mhm,
Two, it will grow, it will be big.
mhm,
Three, it will live after me.
mhm,
Then it means you need to think long term. If you are thinking long term, you will pay your taxes. But there are some practical challenges,
mhm,
right, in this environment. So I say to them, pay it month by month. After all, as individuals, I want that car. I need that pair of shoes. I want to wear that agbada. We think nothing of putting it in lay-by and paying for it instrumentally. The tax office has let all of us know that we can pay instrumentally. So as a small business, pay monthly.
mhm,
Whatever your tax is for the year, split it up into little bite-sized pieces that you can afford, but pay. Once you are paying, you're no longer avoiding tax. You're actually a taxpayer. And the tax office will look on you more kindly
mhm.
than the woman or the man who's running away from his responsibility. Because we are the same people who will not pay tax and expect good roads. We are the same people who want water coming out of our taps and we don't pay tax. These two things go hand in hand. Without tax, how is government supposed to supply services? So yes, please pay your tax.
Thank you. That's the summary of it all. Thank you. And then for a business that is in a critical sector, so you talked about aviation, hospitality business. I know quite a few of businesses that are doing ticketing, that have hotels, boutique apartments, and they really cannot generate revenue at this point in time, or even for the foreseeable future. Really, what would you advise the person to do?
I think that they should realize that this might just be a pause,
Mm,
because I'm
right.
not a soothsayer, so I don't
Mm-hmm.
really know the future. It might just be a pause. And in being a pause, they should begin to look at what are the other things within the same industry. Because what some people tend to do is that, this is just hypothetical. I'm in
Mm,
getting, as you said, and so they have a problem, and I decide it's pure water I'm going to start selling,
mm-hmm.
right? The pure water solves your immediate survival problem.
Yeah.
That is, you can feed yourself and whatever it is you do with money, but it adds no value to you as a person. So I think you should look holistically at yourself. I believe that every individual was born multi-talented. We all have all kinds of gifts. We're all capable of doing more than one thing. Go into what will add value to you. That's what I'm saying. So that your time is very usefully spent and
Mm,
value is added on. And if it is possible for you to do those other things that still add value to what you were doing before, then
mm,
do that.
yeah. You're a female entrepreneur. You wear so many hats. You're a wife, you're a mother, you're yourself. You're wearing, I know, in fact, I can count like 4 other roles apart from principal partner of TMC and president of LCCI that you are. Working remotely has also added the additional stress of working, managing the house. There are things that are in front of you, but you're still also supposed to do that. I think that this period has also been even much more, and I use the word stressful for female entrepreneurs, because you're trying to manage and sustain your business, you're running the home, you're doing school from home and all of that. How do you self-manage? And maybe you can give us some practical tips that you yourself have used. What's the advice you give for female entrepreneurs in the house? or in this conversation at the moment. And I think that that's very, very critical to share.
Yeah. I think my advice is this, because I think even my husband is quite, there were already a lot of things I was doing remotely. So I would say to female entrepreneurs, develop a lot more of those remote digital connections. The person who's going to the market, the person who's supplying with the cook food that you cannot enter the kitchen to go and cook, have many more of those. The banking relationships I'm talking about, you should know who your account officer is and be able to pick up the phone and say, hey, my ATM card refused to vomit money this morning or something. You must have those digital relationships. So they come in handy. Two, because you're at home and you're distracted, have a schedule. I have a schedule. I was amused 3 weeks ago when a member of my household came into the room where I work and asked me the question, so when are you coming home from work? I smiled because it's true, I was at work. So I have a schedule. I have a certain number of hours in the morning that I work. I will attend my webinars, then I'll attend to things, then I take time off for a few hours for the family. For me, I find the best time for me to focus on them is actually mid-afternoon, because there's not a lot that's happening for me at that time. And I can schedule my deliveries to come in then, I can attend to people, and then sort of like 3, which is one of the reasons why your time got shifted. Sort of like from 3, I become available again about 7, 8 o'clock, and then that's it. And then I go back to family. So for everybody, you have the times that work for you. Have a schedule and stick to the schedule. If you break your own schedule, nobody's going to respect your schedule. So you have to be the first one to respect that schedule and order yourself in line with the schedule that you have set up.
Yes. So put a structure around your working from home habit. Yes. I also like what you said around digitizing, and you don't have to do everything. You can, if there are things you can outsource, just do it. I know. I hope I'm not rocking first. You don't have to put something else, but let me keep quiet. Thank you. That has been very helpful, because I know that there are quite a lot of people juggling so many things. And then as much as this remote working or working from home, however you described it, has also made us continue to work, it has added quite a lot. And I like your example around putting a structure to it for yourself. By this time, we already know what our demands would be, demands for ourselves, our work, family, and we can sort of arrange that. That will be very helpful. Somebody is asking a question around tax, and I think it goes around to your initial comment also around financial literacy. The person said that apart from, do we pay for a buying and selling business, do we pay company tax apart from VAT? The CEO pays personal tax.
It depends on what kind of registration they have. What's their registration? If you're a private limited company, you will pay company tax. But if you're not private limited, if you're a business name, you're not expected to pay company tax.
Fantastic, yes. So I have a question also around, so one of the challenges, obviously, from a supply chain perspective, there are a lot of SMEs who either they retail products from abroad or from China in particular, or they depend on input or buy products from that. And then with the impending devaluation, however you look at it, and the Naira value, that is putting a significant strain on the cost of their production or the cost of the goods they have. And for some of entrepreneurs, it's a challenge to pass that on to the customer. How do they approach that if you're dealing with foreign exchange based inputs or byproducts or materials?
Those are environmental issues that are very difficult to contend with. The first thing the Chamber of Commerce is advocating is what we call import substitution. So we're asking businesses to look inwards. Is there something we produce here in Nigeria that will take the place of what you've been importing, for example? The second thing we're also saying to import dependent businesses is, this is the time for us to start preaching made in Nigeria and looking made in Nigeria. We have been so oil dependent for so long. We're such a mono economy. That's why we're in the position we're in today. With the drastic fall in rent, nobody in their wildest dreams ever thought that oil will fall to this level. So we need to become an export-oriented nation. We need to be productive. We need to be exporting. And, I have absolute faith in my fellow Nigerians. As for entrepreneurship, they score very high marks on that grade. We need to start exporting our stuff. So I'd like us generally as businesses to begin to turn our mindset away from imports to exports. What can we export? What is it that we can do here, manufacture here, process here, add value to here that can enter? Because one of the things I think is positive right now is being looked at negatively because I think the West is dominating conversations. Global supply chains have been disrupted. It's true. It's been disrupted. They can't supply us. Let us supply them now. Yes. Let's take advantage of this disruption in global chains and turn the conversation around and start to send stuff out. Yes.
So look inwards. Look inwards. Let's look to start exporting. Let's also create our own standard. Let's make sure that obviously whatever we're producing, we try to improve on it to ensure that it meets with global standards. And the good thing is that this conversation cuts across. It cuts across agribusiness, creatives, and so many other spaces that we can think. We're right on the hour of 5 o'clock. And so my final question is, what is the last advice you give? I don't know if we've covered, if there's something else that you would have wanted to say that not said.
I have just a couple of things around resilience. So one thing that I find SMEs in Nigeria suffer from is that they do not have a good appreciation for their human resource, for their employees. We do not put enough value on the people we have. And so it's really to say to them that employees are your greatest resource. And so during this pandemic, once you have set up your planning team, whether it's a team of 2 or more, you must have some kind of communication plan with your employees. You must have a plan around keeping them safe as well while working. You need to keep, with respect to your customers, there are many who don't have contact databases for their customers. We need to keep a contact database for our customers. We need to keep it valid. We need to, in terms of suppliers and vendors, have alternate lists. So we're not totally dependent on one particular vendor. So when he or she goes down, we go down with them. We need to have alternatives. So if we haven't had alternatives before now, please look for alternatives to all your supplies. And then, yes, one interesting tip I read a few days ago was if your vendors can be located in different locations, try and do that as well. So they're not suffering the same environmental
issue. Yes.
And then finally to IT. For IT, I'd like that, they begin now to identify the applications and the software that they rely on and invest in those things. It's an investment, it's not a cost. Most are thinking of it as a cost. It's not a cost, it's an investment. You will reap the rewards 100-fold, that's for sure. Ensure your data is backed up and have more than one person in charge of backing up your data so that you're sure it gets backed up regularly. And please back up into a cloud. For insurance, please, insurance is very important. Please speak to a broker about the kind of insurance cover you need to have at this point in time. Many SME entrepreneurs tell me that insurance is kalu, and it is not their portion. Not their portion to suffer any risk. Please, it's not anybody's portion, but risks happen. So please talk to an insurer. And then please consult advisors. We think of advisors as, expenses. I don't want to talk to a lawyer. Let me just ask my friend who is a mechanic over there, what was it you did when you were talking to your own landlord? Let me do the same thing. We look for advice in the wrong place. Please engage with advisors. And I found that more and more consultants and experts are online and giving a certain level of free service.
Yes.
So go into their clinics, you know,
yeah.
and engage with the HR experts and the legal experts and the finance experts. Those are my
Fantastic.
final words.
Thank you. I have to ask you a question that just came up because it's from one of my alumni members,
Okay.
Prime Ibrahim Salahu. He said that
Ibrahim, how is he?
He's very well. He's doing very well. He said that how can a consulting firm better manage employee productivity who were working from the office but now work from home? And I think I can provide more perspective to this because I think particularly when you're in a tangible, a service-based business, and where in a lot of places the culture has been used to providing direct oversight, guidance, follow-up in person. Now there are limitations to the factors that you can control. Yes. And so and you are in that space. So what will be your advice for this?
My advice is boilerplate, boil it down to documentation. KPIs will be broken down even further. Targets will be set by the week or by the day or by the month. What is important is not exactly how that employee spends their time. It's how the employee delivers. Mm-hmm. As long as that employee is delivering, whether, for example, she spends 2 hours with her kids or 4 hours, it's not the issue. The issue is you had a target. Did you meet that target? So the focus now moves away. You know, when you're in the physical space, where you move, how you move, where you go is an issue. Yes. When you're no longer there to be seen, that is no longer the issue. The issue now is, are you delivering? So Ibrahim, boil it down to targets by the day, by the week, by the month, whatever works for you. And what should concern you is that your employees are delivering. As long as they're delivering, they're doing their work.
So results. Agreed. The deliverables and the timelines to it. And as long as that person can do that, even if the person is working overnight and not 9 to 5.
You know, exactly.
This has been an amazing conversation. I feel like you're right in front of me and I have thoroughly enjoyed it, but I've also learned a lot from it. And I am sure that I read a few of the comments from the YouTube comment page. Thank you very much. You've talked on so many different areas around the point of resilience. You've talked on being very strategic, being very clear around how we're reviewing our business, doing a SWOT analysis and just saying, okay, what does this present situation mean for me, my products, my services, my customers, my delivery channels, and all of that. We just talked about human resource, managing people, there's a point that I don't want to gloss over because it's important, because our people are our greatest assets. So how are we supporting them? They're also going through challenging times at this point in time. So how are we also supporting our employees? We talked a lot around cash flow, financing. We talked a lot around the importance also of paying tax and committing to it. The thing also is that there are quite a lot of policy is that we've also seen. So entrepreneurs also need to be informed so that if there are provisions being made, they can also take advantage of it as they should. You talked about the importance of also seeking advisory services, and there are quite a number of platforms that are also providing this for free. But sometimes the value of that advice will save you so much money and will position you in a better direction. And then you also started, and we also that wove all through was digitizing. So digitizing you're looking at your business model, your payments, your financial management systems, how you sell your products and services, and seeing how you can continue to be digitally enabled all through your business. And last but not the least, the importance of engaging with our BMOs, with relevant BMOs, relevant associations, relevant chambers, to first of all make your voice heard, to understand what's happening and even contextualize what the issues are in relation to how we're running our businesses, to be able to work with colleagues and peers who are also in the same space as we are. Some, in some cases, have even gone ahead of us and have experienced some of the things that we're doing, so we don't have to make the mistakes again. I believe associations and chambers of commerce and BMOs are also a good place to also get opportunities, because when the government or development partners are doing something, a lot of times they also start with the members within this group.
Yeah.
So you also get frontline benefit to that. And you've also shared your experience around being an entrepreneur who is also working from home and also still growing and building their business, managing people, managing ourselves as individuals. Thank you so much. It's always a pleasure to listen to you, to share with you, to learn from you. And you are an amazing source of wisdom, and you do that so simplified, in a very simple way, and you don't make it very complex. This is what
it's always a pleasure. It's always a pleasure.
Thank you so much.
It's always a pleasure to talk to you.
Thank you.
Take care.
Much. Thank you. Thank you to the MSME Hub.
Thank you to the Faith team, yes, and the MSME Hub that made this possible. Thank you to everyone.
Thank you.
And thank you to the audience for being here.
Yes, and thank you to everybody for participating. Please remember to subscribe to our MSME Hub YouTube channel. We've recorded a lot of our previous webinars and conversations, and there are actually quite a lot of video sessions which have been segmented on the playlist around different knowledge areas and topic areas for Nigerian businesses. So please subscribe to the channel, look at any of the videos, and always send us an email if you want any more information. So until we speak again, Ms. Mabogunja, please enjoy the rest of your week. And thank you to everybody that joined in.
Thank you. You too. Thank you. Bye-bye. You too. Take care.